Hey there, I hope you're doing well. I'm Shawna, your counseling astrologer, and I just wanted to share with you an idea around Saturn and flow states and enjoyment, and how Saturn can actually be a pathway to enjoyment. And I know that sounds sort of like we don't normally correlate Saturn with things that are enjoyable. But this came about because I was reading a book on flow and experiences where we feel in the flow, and the the qualities, the ingredients that lead to flow states. When I was reading them, I was like, oh, these are Saturn qualities. And so I thought it was really interesting that Saturn qualities could lead us to a flow state or to a state of enjoyment. So this is from the book called Flow. I'm going to put the author's name down in the description because it's really difficult to pronounce. But it's called Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. And so it's based on research that was done where they interviewed a ton of different people on when they feel in the flow, when they feel enjoyment, anything from a sport to a hobby to work. And it's a really interesting book. I would definitely recommend checking it out because I found it very interesting, especially if you want, like, the whole idea of the book is around cultivating more enjoyment in your everyday life. Okay, so in the book, there's 8 different, what do they say? What do they call it? There's 8 different components to the phenomenon of enjoyment or the phenomenon of flow states. So these are that there is an achievable task, that there is an ability to concentrate, there are clear goals, there is immediate feedback, there is a deep involvement that diverts awareness from worries or frustrations in everyday life. There is a sense of control or power, and self-consciousness disappears. And finally, the sense of time is altered. So I think really this list could be shorter. I think the whole book could be shorter, but that's just my brief style. I guess sometimes I'm brief, sometimes not. So I think this could be like really, we could like shorten this into 4 things to think about when we're going about our day or when we're choosing activities for ourselves. So is it achievable? Are you concentrating on it? Do you have clear goals, like measurable goals? And do you get immediate feedback? And then all of the other things sort of, I think, follow suit and are kind of more nuanced. But that being said, like, all of these are very Saturn based. Like, Saturn is about, okay, like, how are we going to measure this? What does it mean when you say that you want to be more successful in business? Saturn wants to know, like, what exactly does that look like? Does that look like having a certain kind of job or a certain kind of income or a quality of life or a certain number of clients and this kind of thing? Saturn is also very much about concentration and like really limiting your focus and your time. Saturn is also about goals. It's like, okay, like, what are you going to do with this very precious time that you have? Time is finite. Your energy and your emotional bandwidth is finite. You can't do everything. This is what Saturn tells us. And then I thought also even the sense of control or power was also very Saturnian. So Saturn is about, it can be about constriction and bondage and binding. Typically we don't like those kinds of things, but it can be like a feeling of security because you have a sense of control and power and autonomy in a situation. In this book, they use, they actually found that when people are experiencing flow states, typically that is in something, it can be in work, but most often it was in either a hobby or a sport, something that the person did purely for the enjoyment of it. It wasn't like based on, it wasn't based on security needs. It wasn't like, oh, I need to put food on the table or money in the bank. It was more activities that they did just, you know, for fun. And so I thought that was so like ironic because we don't think about Saturn being fun, but when we create this like solid base, this solid foundation through, okay, what exactly are the rules and the goals of this game or this hobby? What are the limitations? That actually creates a solid base, and then it creates a sense of security and safety and a container from which we can actually feel more free because we know the space that we can work within. And I think this is actually a really beautiful way to re-envision and re-invoke Saturn, is that Saturn is not about limitations and binding for like punishment or just for the you know, vindictive quality of being harmful, though it can feel that way, and though it can actually, I don't want to discount that Saturn transits can be quite challenging, and sometimes there can be like a lot of pain and grief in there, and I think that we forget that, or at least one thing that I'm remembering is that when we have limitations and we have to like really put in the effort, that builds confidence and that builds safety and security, and that allows us to feel more free, to show up with more spontaneity and more joy even. So I'll put down below the 8 things and the page number that it's from, but again, I really recommend this book. I think it's an interesting read. I am sending you lots of love and wishing you a wonderful day. Bye.